Hello awesome people, welcome to Planet Zoo, our first real video in the franchise on the channel. Not really the first real video, we did 2 videos on the Planet Zoo beta, but this is going to be the first one on the full release. I'm sorry it took a little bit longer than expected. I had to really basically I didn't have the time to dive into the game and to really learn all the controls and everything and to really find my groove basically to build some stuff. This is going to be the first speed build. We're going to build a Komodo Dragon island here, which is going to be very, very fun. I hope you guys will enjoy. In the future, we're going to do some more stuff with speed builds, and once I feel comfortable enough, we will probably start a zoo. Whether that's going to be a franchise zoo or Sandbox zoo, I haven't really yet decided. But you guys can always leave your comments in the comment section, of course, or go to the Discord. The link is in every description of every video, and that way we can do. You can also put some suggestions about which animals you want to see. But today we're going to do the Komodo Dragon. Now, not everyone has the Komodo Dragon available to them. That is because the Komodo Dragon, along with the pygmy hippopotamus, the pygmy hippopotamus, and one of the antelopes, I think, I can't remember which one. They are actually part of the sort of the pre-order premium or whatever it was called pack. So that is what you can get. If you don't have the Komodo Dragon in your games, then I'm sorry. There's always the chance to upgrade, I guess. But they are very cool animals. They live in Asia, on the Indonesian islands actually, and yeah, they have quite a fun. Well, they can be quite dangerous, but we will come back to that once we are actually started to build. Yeah, we're gonna build now. I'm gonna first build the surroundings of the area, and I'll see you back when that's done. And we're back, guys. This is the start of the Komodo Dragon Island's habitat. This is a very simple building. I'm not the best at building in this game yet, so I'm trying to learn. So please bear with me. If you have any tips and tricks, by the way, on building stuff, make sure to leave a comment and helping me out. What the idea is that this island is where the Komodo dragons will live. That's why it's all sandy. I'm gonna make like a very deserty type exhibit for them. You can also make it very tropical, because they have a low. They don't want to have lots of plants and trees in there. So I feel like a sort of a deserty type, grassland type idea is a better way to go for in the game than to go for something like a tropical area. Now, the surroundings here, I was hoping that adding the water would help to keep them out from the guests, but there were a few spots where you could actually get onto the land and get out. So what I did was I put the wooden fence basically around, which we also used over here. This is the entire barrier if we look at it. It's a bit higher up here, which is fine because that sort of takes away from the view if you walk over here. So if you come down the path over here, you can't really see what this is. You can only see the outskirts of the island. You see some water. So it looks kind of interesting. You see this sort of East Asian themed hut over there. And then you go over here and then you can actually see that we have some land over here, and this is the 1 meter wall. These are only 1 meter high, so you can easily look over them. Of course, we're gonna change some terrain over here, and we're gonna add some stuff like rocks and plants and everything. But for now, this is it, and this is the shelter they have. The entrance is over here. We have the entrance for the staff area. For staff, and then we have a little walkway, and then we have all this basically bedding where they can rest, which is very cool. What we're gonna do though is I've painted all the fine sand for now. We're gonna make this tool a little bit smaller. I'm gonna go like 30%, something like that. I'm gonna make it a little bit more coarse because this is inside, so we can have a little bit more coarse sand. So let's make it entirely coarse. Let's make it a little bit rocky. And let's get some more fine sand in there, and that looks a little bit better. And then yeah, we will try to use the terrain paint to also make like places where they walk often. We will sort of make a sort of a route. I think that would be fine, but for now what we're gonna do is we're gonna basically put in the necessary things they need, and also put in some shrubs and some rocks, and I will see you when that's done. And here we are again. Well, first of all, what I did was I did some terrain work. So I went to basically guess level, and I still want the island to be pretty flat because there's quite a big sort of water area in front of the guests. So they have to look a bit further to actually see the animals. So I want it to be a bit flat. So if you stand over here, you can actually see almost the entire island. Of course, there's going to be some views obscured by rocks or little, you know, dips in the terrain or little pushes in the terrain, basically. And we're also going to add some shrubberies, of course, some bushes and trees. Those are going to come later, by the way. But that's the first thing I did. So I made it a little bit less flat, but kind of made like areas where we could put some rocks. Make little mounds of dirt, basically. They're very little, and they're smoothed out a little bit. And that gave us some area for to place some rocks. I used the desert rocks because, like I said, I was going to go for the arid sort of exhibit, sort of the really dry desert slash grassland idea. So I used the desert rocks, and once that was finished, once I placed the rocks and once I basically built the terrain a little bit more, I used the terrain painter to paint in all the stuff that I wanted. So I want more rocks on the rocky area, basically. I wanted sand on the pathy area, and I wanted a lot of dirt around the water. Now, the dirt is not very well visible, and it's kind of more like a line because it goes down, and that was because it was a little bit tricky to get all of this in green for the habitat wise, but we have it all. They like a lot of sand, but we're at the max of the sand. I wanted to have a very sandy exhibit, but yeah, unfortunately we have reached the top, so I had to get this sort of line of dirt in there to make sure that this was actually still in the green. We could also put something else out there, but I felt like dirt was the best option. So yeah, that's the way it is. They still have lots and lots of space. We only have one in here, Ningxi, but we have also Galang, I think it was. Yeah, Galang the male, who is also going to come in. But this was basically just a test and see how the environment was for them. I was pretty close at first, but like I said, we had too much sand, so we had to tone down a little bit on the sandy areas, make a little bit more rock. I had a little sand path over here running through the middle, which was quite cool, but I have to remove that. But yeah, this is what it is for now. Also, once everything was in place, basically, I started to work on their vital things. So like the food and all the enrichments, the sprinkler. I'm gonna unpause it so that you guys can see. So we have the sprinkler in place, we have a football in place, which if we reset this, it will roll down, because I placed it between the rocks, which is, I think it's cool. They have a little area to play there, and they have this little rubbing pad over here. Water is over here. I like to have them, they should be able to drink this water all around the island. If they don't, or if they just want to have a stationary water supply, basically, although this is stationary too, but that's something else. Then they have this water pipe over here, which is close to the shelter, which will help them out. And underneath here is, if we lift this stone, there is the food tray. So what I did was I basically pushed it down so that you can't see it anymore. Surrounded it with rocks. It looks really man-made, and that was actually my intention, because one, you can immediately see that this is a food tray, and two, it's still, you don't have the metallic color of the plate basically in the area. I don't really like that, so I managed, I think this is an easy solution for that. And we have a sort of the restraint feeder over here, which brings them also a little bit closer to guests. So they have basically food over here, but also normally they should feed from the restraint feeder and the blood pumpkin, so that brings them on this side of the island. Basically, they have the ball and the sprinkler in the middle, so they will be roaming around over here, and they have the rubbing pad over here. So they will be using almost the entire island. This site might be a little bit non-occupied, you could say, but we can fix that with adding some more stuff in there. Actually, whilst we're talking about that, we could do like a prey-scented sack, but let's place that in here somewhere. So let's put it, let's place that right there. So now they have stuff to go to on every side of the island, basically, and that will definitely help out with getting the guests a nice view. And I think they aren't really going to be stressed out. They look quite gorgeous. But like I said in the beginning of the video, they are actually quite dangerous. They are not venomous because they don't produce venom, but they have, when they bite you, they have so many bacteria in their saliva. The Gila Monster, which is also in the game, has basically the same thing. They have so many bacteria in their saliva that it acts as a venom, basically. It acts as poison. So you can get really sick, the wound will get infected really fast, and that's basically how they hunt. They grab their prey, and they can just release. Like certain snakes, they can just release and then follow the trail, because like most reptiles, they sense, they sort of smell with their tongue. That's why they sort of throw their tongue around all the time to find little air particles, and they basically taste what they smell, and then they can easily follow up on the scent. So they don't really have to hunt in that sense. They do have to hunt, but it's not that they like tigers, that they actually, you know, hunt animals in the sense that they bite them and fight until the prey is dead, and then they eat them. These guys mostly just bite and release because otherwise they can get hurt themselves, and a lot of animals actually use this. So that's actually a pretty nice factoid for the Komodo Dragon. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually finish this island off with the shrubbery and the bushes, the trees and everything. It's not going to be much because they don't like a lot of foliage. If I can click on them, will you please? Thank you. So as you can see, they don't like a lot of coverage. We're gonna use mostly grassland and maybe even some desert ones, which they might not like, but I'm still gonna use it because their welfare is pretty high. The only thing that is not there is plants, but we can add them, of course. And then I'm gonna add in the mill, and I will see you once that is all done, and I will show you around. Oh, by the way, one thing I wanted to show you guys. There's a little sort of ground cover rock. What these are just basically the what should we call it? I should get there. Yeah, these are these ones. They're like most people use them for roofing. What I do is, and we can add it actually in here, I just sink them into the ground, and as you can see, they sort of give that, if you place them just right, they can give that sort of a normal rock, they can give it like a sort of surrounding, sort of where the rock goes into the ground. But if you do it in like an area like this, where you have raised terrain a little bit, you can get little gaps, like so. You can get little gaps in there, which this is one rock, but it looks like a few rocks on the ground, basically some rock clutter, I call it, and it looks pretty cool. It makes it look a little bit more realistic in my eyes. So that's a little tip if you want to use that. If you think about, how can I make sure that rocks blend in with my ground, basically, because that is one thing that a lot of people don't really do. I haven't really done it over here, so you can see the difference. This is just one rock placed over here, and you can see that it goes into the ground, and it goes straight into the ground. There's no runoff, and this is not how nature works normally. Normally you would have like a little, we could also use these ones, for instance, a little runoff into the ground like that, maybe. So a little bit like that. This is not the perfect rock to use for now. Maybe this one, and then plop it like that. That's already a little bit better. And you can also build this up, so you can always, if this isn't entirely to your liking, you can always use another one and then just throw it in like a little bit further in, and then you have like sort of little steps, so that it sort of gradually goes down. As you can see, that's actually, I like that. I'm gonna leave that in, but that's actually how I try to use the rockwork around the at least the exhibits. Not really in the zoo themselves, it doesn't really matter that much, but the exhibits, which are a lot of people are gonna watch, that's how I do that. But I will be back when all the bushes and trees are in, and I will show you the final result. And we're back for the final time, guys. This is the end result, and I think I did the sort of the real deserty, arid feel to it. I think it worked out. I'm going to show you guys what I did. By the way, the animals are actually quite happy. They're on 99% welfare. I used some plants that I don't really like. I tried to keep it low, especially for the coverage. We don't really use big trees or anything, but I did use some plants that I don't really like. They don't have a problem with any of them, but they have a few that they don't normally really see in their habitat. I used a few desert plants like the aloe vera or whatever you call it. So yeah, that is something we use, but they don't seem to mind that much. Like I said, the welfare is 99%, so they're doing quite well. So let's show you guys around. Now, I have to say that this series, where we do these sort of ideas of building the exhibits, it's all about the animals. It's all about the exhibits. So I'm not going to do too much into guests. Of course, they need to see the animals, and we have to make sure that the animals can't escape towards the guest. But it is all about the animals. So let's start. So first, what I did is I looked at this, and you can see some ugly areas where the terrain tool wasn't really working with me. Now you can take a lot of time to actually make this better. I, however, don't have the time for that, unfortunately. So what I do was I fixed it up with a few of these reeds, basically. I put some reeds in front of it so you don't really see it, then added some other reeds to make it look a little bit more natural. This one is a little bit alone, which we can always fix by placing some rocks around it or anything. Placed some reeds on this area because this is an area where people are not really going to see anything. They're not going to really look into this area, so we're just going to place some plants there to hide it a little bit. Same thing over here. And the next thing that I did was when I went all around the outside, basically trying to fix all that stuff, then I went to the inside of the exhibit, the actual inside of the exhibit. What I did then was I searched some very easy small desertry plants, like the aloe vera. I used a few of them. I used a large one, I used a medium one, and I used a sort of a pairing here, which is a line of 2 meters, they say. That's what it's called in the game. And I just placed them around the rocks because I feel like those plants live around the rocks. I don't know why. I'm not sure if it's right, but I just felt like they should live around the rocks, right? Now, the next thing I did was I tried to find some more greenery, so some more green nature. And I used these custard apple trees. If I grab this out, I will, it's just a simple tree, basically. It's tropical, so they like it. It's not really a deserty feeling, but we can plop it down and we have some more greenery, because even though they, I wanted to go for an arid, so like desert feeling, they don't really live in a desert. They live in arid grasslands. So arid grasslands do have these bushes. Normally they are a little bit more brownish. I wanted to go for a brown one, but I couldn't really find one that would actually suit their needs. As she is actually going for the prey sack. Are you the she or the he? You're the he. Galang. Yeah. And whilst we're here, the last thing I did was I was, like I said, I was searching for a more brownish one, couldn't really find one. I found this sort of white one, which is a quite a big bush actually, as you can see. But I just put it down into the ground like some ground clutter. And I did that on other places too, where I thought like it needed a bit more. This one is actually not really correctly placed. It's a little bit, yeah, that's better. And I just placed them around a little bit on the nooks of the rocks mostly. I feel like for some reason that plants should live in sort of the vicinity of rocks. I don't know why. Probably realistically, you would have a lot of plants on the water side if you let nature do his thing or her thing. But that will obscure the viewing of the guests, of course. I just thought this series is about the animals, not about the guests. But of course, we need to make sure that the guests can see the animals. So I left out all the vegetation basically on the sides, and I tried to not place any rocks there. This is really man-made for the guests, so yeah, that's the only thing. And then we have some, basically it's not even trees, it's the African branches. If we go into construction, if you type in branch, you can find all these branches. Some of them are painted, like you can see over here, but the first 4 are not painted, so you can just click them. It's just basically a branch. It's sort of a dead tree. It looks a little bit like a dead tree, and I try to use them like that. So I try to put them out and about a little bit, so that we actually had some trees that didn't really use any coverage, because these don't count as coverage. If we go into here, you also see that they don't you know, they don't come up as plants or trees, which is a good thing, because then you can put in as many as you like. And I tried to scatter them around a little bit on places that I felt like you could need a little log. Over here I placed them like on the ground, like it fell down. Because it's dead, you know, the roots will be dying and they fall down. And the same thing over here. This one can actually be a little bit higher. And that's it. So, and that's basically it, guys. This is the first exhibit build that we're doing on the channel. Hope you guys have enjoyed. Leave tips and tricks and comments about what animal you want to see next. Everything. I want to really learn from you guys how you build your exhibits and what you want to see in the future. English. And as always, I've been Hipbone. You've been yourself. Thanks for being awesome, and thanks for watching.